are now tuned in to this week's episode on TOGCast. It is our mission to bring you guest speakers sharing their latest and greatest tips, skills, stories and know-hows within their market. Let's get going.
Hi and welcome to TOGCast. Today's episode is the Style Edition and I'm joined by producer Bex and the amazing Samantha Harman, who is a style coach. So Sam, thank you for joining us today. I've got so much to talk about, but let's start with you first. So how did you get into being a style coach? Tell me about your journey.
I was a woman in leadership, and what I realised in doing that role was that no one ever talked to me about what I should wear. And I didn't then know how to talk to my team about what to wear either. I'd always loved clothes and fashion, but I didn't think that that was for me because I grew up, as most of us do, in a society that tells us that we aren't good enough. And so I ended up, for many years, pretty much hating myself. Like every day I would have negative thoughts about myself, my body, and that really impacted my confidence. And that is something that many people will resonate with because studies show, and this is actually quite an old study, so I would guess that it's more than this now because of social media.
Definitely.
But women have 36 negative thoughts about themselves every single day. So if you don't have those negative thoughts, imagine how much time and energy you'd have for other stuff. So when you're in leadership as well, that's really hard to navigate because in your mind, you're thinking all this stuff about yourself, but also you have to present as a leader. And as I was navigating that and doing that as an editor, I had to have a strong personal brand. Other people were asking for my help with how to dress. They would say to me, I've got an interview tomorrow, what should I wear? Or I've got an important meeting, can you help me find an outfit for it? And that was when I realised that there was so much more to this than clothes, and all of my experience of not liking myself could actually really help people. So that's why I became the style editor.
Right, okay. So it was like your experience with people just not knowing what to wear for just anything or specifically interviews?
In general, work.
Okay.
I think that it is really hard to navigate different dress codes, and also we have a bit of an issue where we get so much training on loads of other stuff, right? Like
yes.
IT systems and SMART goals and all this stuff. But the one thing we have to do every day is get dressed. Like no one's naked. I mean, hopefully they're not listening to this naked.
Well, you never
if
know.
you are, fair play to you.
Yeah.
But everyone has to get dressed, and it's an unfortunate...
Actually, that's a really good point because when you're at school, you wear a uniform. So you don't even know then what to wear. And I remember being when there was a mufti day, never knowing what to wear on mufti day. And then I guess when you then go into the world of work, you're so used to wearing uniforms that actually they don't tell you. And even if they give you a dress code, there might be so many questions around that.
Dress codes are very broad and they can mean different things to different people, especially if you have people in your team who are neurodivergent, for example, where they have different needs from their clothes and they might hyper-focus on certain colours or labels, and it's really hard for them to conform to that dress code, and the communication just is very much lacking. And now after the pandemic, we have a really good opportunity to go and assess, okay, what did we say pre-pandemic? What are we saying now? How can we communicate this properly to the people who work for us? Because even though it may not actually come into the office, even though there may not be an open conversation in the office about, I didn't know what to wear today, guys, people are thinking this, and it is then impacting how they show up for work and how ultimately they represent your company.
Yeah, because some people might be coming in, suited and booted, and other people might be coming in shorts and sliders, and there's not really any sort of dress code policy that stipulates you can't wear this or you can wear that, because the ones that I've seen are quite, smart casual. Well, that can mean a lot of different things to different companies. So, yeah, so do you work with a lot of companies on dress codes?
I am starting to work with more now, yeah. I'm getting a lot more interest from HR departments who are thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm having a lot of conversations with managers. So I had a conversation with a manager recently who was complaining to me because they were saying people look like they're either going to Royal Ascot or they're in their pyjamas. And I don't know.
Oh, pyjamas.
Yeah, they're like, they look like they've rolled out of bed.
Yeah.
And they've come to the office. And when I said, why don't you feel comfortable addressing that with them or having that conversation? They said, I've never been trained in any of that. I don't know what I can and can't say. I don't know what the rules are. I'm struggling with this myself as it is. So if the manager is confused about what to wear to work and what people should be wearing, of course the people that work for them will be.
Yeah, it's almost like a personal preference of what you think is inappropriate or not. You know, like a really short skirt you might think is inappropriate, but other people obviously don't because they're wearing it to work. So yeah, it's quite a big issue there. I can imagine that some companies are struggling with ever since, like you said, the pandemic, because everyone was used to dressing a certain way. And then for, I don't know, a year or so, they were dressing in their joggers. I know I definitely was. And then coming back to the work environment, I was like, oh, I don't know where all my work clothes have gone. They don't fit me, or, you know, whatever. So, yeah, then it is a big struggle, isn't it, to just know what to wear.
And graduates as well, who have graduated during that time. Some of them, you know, they've finished their A-levels during that time. They've gone to uni in a pandemic where they aren't really getting out and doing in-person work experience. So they don't know what they're supposed to wear to an office. And then they turn up to interviews and they're not necessarily dressed how we'd want them to be dressed. But where is the communication?
Yeah.
If we're not communicating with people and we're not talking about this because we think that, you know, talking about dress is superficial, we're not helping people do the best at their jobs.
So there was a term, quite an old term, power dressing, that sometimes gets thrown about a bit. Do you know the history of where that comes from?
I do indeed, yeah. I'm settling for a history lesson.
Yes, please.
So there was a man named John T. Malloy, and in the 1970s he wrote a book that was called something along the lines of Dress for Success, Women in Business. And this was used to address the fact that more women were coming into what were historically male-dominated spaces, offices, etc. And the term power dressing basically meant you should have broad shoulders because then, you know, you will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the men, hence shoulder pads.
Okay.
But also you need to remain feminine because ultimately your goal as a woman is, you know, to be attractive to men, and this whole work thing is just sort of something silly you gals are up to. Obviously. So the person who was what we think of really as the first power dresser is Margaret Thatcher. So if you think of Margaret Thatcher, that is power dressing. And it's been 50 years since that book was written. We've lived through so much change. We've lived through a pandemic. So it probably is time for us to update the rules, as it were, if we need rules.
Yeah. So what do you think power dressing means, like, now?
I think it means whatever makes you feel so good that you're going to do the best at your job.
Yeah.
Because if you are in the morning, if you know that you have an important meeting to go to, you haven't taken the time to look at your wardrobe, you're standing there, you know, you've got 10 minutes to go, you're feeling stressed already about this meeting, you put on something that doesn't make you feel very good, you go to that meeting, and whilst you're in the room, you're actually in your head because you're thinking, I don't feel right, these trousers are too tight, people are looking at me, you're not actually doing the best that you can.
Do you know what, that's such a thing, isn't it? Like, I don't know, I just assume everyone does this, but in the morning when you're getting ready, you don't have a pre-planned outfit for that day, so you're then rushing and trying on loads of clothes, especially if you've got an event or something coming up, and, you know, you just don't know what to wear. And I've been in that situation so many times when there's something happening, I think I know what I want to wear, I put it on, I don't feel good, it doesn't look right, whatever, and then half an hour goes by and I still don't know what I'm wearing. I'm sure I'm not alone in that.
No, you are not alone.
Yeah, it must be like a really horrible sort of place to be.
It is, and that is why it's important to align your wardrobe with your goals ultimately.
Okay.
Because if you plan your wardrobe as part of what do I want to achieve this year? I want to get a promotion this year, or I want to, you know, get a pay rise, whatever it is that you want. How can I use my clothes to support me in that? They're actually a tool that you can use in business.
Yeah. So do you have any, I don't know, stories about someone that you've like helped in that kind of situation where, you know, maybe they've wanted that promotion and they've used their clothes as a tool to support them to get that?
I got loads.
Oh,
I got loads of stories. hair flick. Yeah, I do. I have clients who will come to me and they'll say, I want a promotion by this date, or this is what I'm working towards.
Okay.
And actually this is why I feel that I am a little bit different to what people perceive as a stylist, because I'm all about helping people reach their goals. So the first thing that I do with people is talk about what it is that they want, what is their big dream. And what I find often with clients, particularly women do this, is they will dilute their dreams and they'll say, well, I kind of want a promotion, but I don't know, maybe in 5 years or whatever. I want to know what their big dream is, because I absolutely am obsessed with helping them get to it. And so we work from that place, and then we look at, okay, how does your wardrobe currently make you feel, and how you feel every day now, is that the energy that you need to get you to where you want to go?
Okay. So is that where you start then with your like sessions? You go into someone's wardrobe and actually assess what they've got and how that makes them feel?
Yeah. So their wardrobe, or your wardrobe, anyone's wardrobe, whilst we think it is a collection of clothes, it's actually evidence as to how you feel about yourself, your goals, your dreams, your hopes, your fears. It can be full of shame, it can be full of guilt, it can be full of regret. If you have a wardrobe full of stuff that you don't wear, that has the tags on it, that makes you feel guilty.
I'm guilty of that myself.
That energy is holding you back. I had a client last week who told me that where her wardrobe is, she has to walk past it to go from her bedroom out for the day. And she says she will kind of scuttle past it because it makes her feel really disempowered. And that is not an accident, right? The whole fashion industry is set up to make us feel that way, so that we'll continue to buy stuff that we don't need to fix problems that we don't have. So that's not an accident that's how our wardrobes make us feel. And to that point, we think that the fix is then, I'll go out and buy something new, I've got nothing here to wear.
Yeah, because I think you said on LinkedIn that people spend £500 a year on clothes and they only wear 10% of those clothes. I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that. I tend to buy something for an occasion, but not a specific occasion, because it's nice and it looks pretty, so it'll just sit in my wardrobe, and then the occasion will never come, so I'll just never wear it, and then eventually I'll either then give it to a charity shop, or it still just sits in my wardrobe waiting for the day that it gets worn.
That is very interesting. Why isn't today the day that you could wear it?
Well, yeah, I suppose you're just waiting for that.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, I love that. I don't know. Tell me.
What is it that you feel that you need to wait for until you can wear that? And what would be different about your day if you put it on? Because you would have a different day, because you would feel like the woman who wears that outfit already. What we do is we have these clothes as a goal, and we think, when I am that person one day, then I'll wear that thing. Actually, what we need to do is be that person today. The sooner you identify with who you want to be, the sooner that you'll become it.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. I mean, I actually put this dress on for the first time today because I knew you were coming. Do many people do that?
They do it all the time, yes.
Yeah.
I was at an event recently, and a lot of people there said to me, I knew you were going to be here, so I dressed up. And that's fine, but it's also a little frustrating for me, because what's important is what they're wearing every day for themselves.
Yeah.
If you only dress for outside when you're going out, what you're actually saying is, my opinion on myself isn't that important. What I think about what I wear doesn't really matter. So actually, I love clothes and I love to see what people are wearing, and I am interested in what they wear when I meet them. But what I'm really interested in is what they wear when no one sees. Mm-hmm. That's where the work is.
So let's talk office wear. We've obviously had the pandemic with people wearing pajamas if they want, and now they're back in the office. Most offices are probably hybrid with 3 to 2 days in the office and the rest at home. People are really struggling now with actually what to wear, what is appropriate, what's not appropriate. So what's your advice, Sam, for pretty much everyone out there that has no idea what to wear?
First of all, from a company level, we need to make sure that the communication is there. What do we want from our people? How can we support them through this transition? Because if we're being honest, pre-pandemic stuff does not necessarily feel appropriate now. A lot of people have stuff in their wardrobe that they've got no connection with anymore. Life's moved on, they've changed, and it just doesn't feel right. It feels like kind of stuffing themselves into somebody else's suit, right? Mm-hmm. So that level, the communication needs to be there. And then on an individual level, what I would suggest first of all is to think about your goals, think about what you need to be feeling every day to get there. So if, for example, your goal is, I want to get a pay rise by the end of the year, and I know that I need to feel like an 8 out of 10 every day to do that, to have the confidence to do it, but on average I feel like a 3 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Stop wearing stuff that makes you feel like a 3 out of 10. Right. I know that sounds, a lot of people are like, what? I can wear stuff that makes me feel good and nice.
I mean, when you actually say it, it does sound like a really simple thing to do, but I'm totally guilty of just putting on my jeans with a top because that's just what I wear every day. But if I was to rank myself out of 10, yeah, it would probably be like a 3 or a 4 rather than actually feeling like an 8. And it's just so weird, like listening to you saying these things that seem so simple, but I have all these clothes in my wardrobe that I never wear that might actually make me feel like an 8 out of 10.
Exactly. And if you feel like an 8 out of 10 as opposed to a 3 out of 10, have a little think about the difference that would make to your day. Because when you are, I used to have it at work, being in the role that I was in, and it was a very male-dominated industry, and a lot of people would assume that I was a man, and I would walk into a room and, they would assume that I was there to take their drinks order or whatever.
Is that because of your name?
Because of being a young woman in that industry as an editor, at the time there were very few women editors, and even now I looked at some statistics yesterday and it said something like 21% of editor roles now are taken by women, which is
amazing.
A problem in it's a problem in the industry because we should have more diversity and inclusion, right? Yeah. But because my name was Sam, people just assume obviously that I was a man. But I then used my clothes as a way to be like, hello, I've arrived, and as a personal brand. And it is unfortunate, but it's true that we do judge people on what they wear. And this is something that we just can't help because we have parts of our brains that are prehistoric. And what those are doing is constantly assessing, is someone in my community, do they get me, or are they potentially a threat? And obviously they're not a threat, but our brains don't know that. So people have been dressing in uniforms, even in Scotland with the tartans for the various clans to say that I am part of this community. So that is why actually what we wear does matter, because unfortunately people are making a judgment as to our credibility. So if you stepped it up a bit at work, what potentially could happen?
So you could maybe start gradually, couldn't you? So if you think you're a 3 in an outfit, maybe go to an outfit that's like a 4 or a 5. Don't go straight in for that 8, because although you might feel great, you also might feel a little bit uncomfortable at work with the fact that they're used to seeing you in a certain way, and then all of a sudden you're in an amazing dress. They might be like, oh, where are you going after work? You're like, actually, I'm going home.
I'm going to sit in my lounge and what?
Wasn't there a stat or something that you had that was like 1 in 2 women don't feel confident enough at work?
Yeah, that was a survey that Dove have done, because obviously Dove do stuff on women and confidence, and it showed that 1 in 2 women aren't confident at work at the moment. And unfortunately, because of the economy, things like the Reykjavik Index show that trust in women leaders is going down as people go back to more traditional gender roles. And, you know, your clothes can actually help you, can make you feel more confident. This is scientific. There is scientific information to back this up.
Yeah. So like a psychological link between feeling good in what you wear and performing well or performing better when you feel good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's called enclosed cognition. And it essentially means that when you put on certain clothes, you embody the identity of the person that you believe would wear them. So they did a study with lab coats, and actually they've done this study a lot of times with various different groups, from graduates to inmates at prison. And they told one group that the coat is a lab coat, a doctor's lab coat, and the other group that it is a painter's smock. And they found that the group who thought they were wearing a doctor's lab coat performed better in tests and were more productive and, you know, even honest and confident and all of those things than the group that thought they were wearing a painter's smock.
Oh, do you know what, actually, you've reminded me of a time when I was at uni and I had to do a presentation, and I was really, really nervous about doing this presentation. So I bought myself a blazer, and I just wore the blazer with like jeans and a top, but the fact that I had this blazer on, which obviously I associated with someone that knew what they were doing, I actually smashed that presentation. And I remember thinking how good that I felt when I was doing it, and I wonder now whether it was just the blazer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, you did a good job at the presentation because you're fantastic, right?
Well, maybe.
But the blazer probably helped you know that.
Yeah.
That's what it does when we put on those clothes. And that is the problem now with working from home and hybrid working, is that at first it felt like a real novelty not having to get dressed in the morning. But our brains can't understand what we're doing because our brains associate certain clothes with work and productive time and certain clothes with going to sleep. So if you wear your pajamas all day, your brain is like, I don't know what I'm doing. You're telling me that I have to do loads of work, but I'm wearing the thing from, you know, when I was a child, not even old enough to remember my parents changing me out of day clothes and putting me into pajamas. That signals to your brain pajamas are for sleeping.
Ah, okay.
So it is going to have an impact on your productivity.
Some days I do actually wear my pajamas all day. But I like still
The recording. I need to leave.
But that's when I work from home, obviously, not in the office. But I feel like I still have productive days. So maybe it's also like where you sit in your house as well, because I have like a little office space. So talking about something that you mentioned earlier about how we automatically judge people. So when you go for a job interview, then do you have any tips for anyone in that situation where they don't know what to wear? They know they're going to be judged, not intentionally judged, but you know, it's written in our minds.
Obviously, look at the place that you're going to work, because as much as it needs to be a culture fit that you need to fit in with them, they need to fit with you, right? And you want to work somewhere that allows you to have enough of yourself in the role that you can do a good job. Because if we bring our whole selves to work, we're going to get more out of it, and our clients are going to get more out of it, and everyone's going to get more out of it. So what is the culture there? Is there anyone that you see there, and what are they wearing? And also, what makes you feel really good? And colour's a really good thing to use in those situations. Colours like blue, for example, can make you feel more confident, as can orange. Orange is a really good colour for confidence. Green is a really good colour if you want to feel healthy. And pink is a really good colour if you want to feel supported. So think of colour, because a lot of people, when they think of corporate business wear, think of a suit, fine, but they'll think black, right? They'll just think, I need to wear a black suit.
Yeah.
What about if you wore a green suit? Like, what difference would that make?
Mind blown.
You would stand out also because they'll remember you more. If they've got 50 interviews and they're really busy, they will remember you for... They may not necessarily understand that it's because of what you're wearing, but they will... I promise they will remember you. I have people come up to me sometimes now who will say to me, I've never spoken to you before, but I saw you at this event a year ago and you were wearing this thing, and I remember it. They don't remember everyone else there who was wearing a grey suit. No offence, but we do remember people based on how they made us feel, and a big part of that is what they're wearing.
Yeah. So yeah, my stepdad, Eric, actually, hi Eric, he used to always wear black shirts. He doesn't know why, but he just always used to wear black shirts all the time. And then one day, I think he was just a bit like, I don't want to wear black. I want to wear something colourful. So he actually started wearing Hawaiian shirts, and he now wears a Hawaiian shirt every single day, and it makes him feel good about himself. It's a conversation starter as well, and people will now recognise him because of his Hawaiian shirts, and it's just like, and I love him for that. And it's even started rubbing off on other members of the family. They've got a little collection of Hawaiian shirts now, so whenever we meet up, they all wear them together, and it's just really nice.
I love that. Isn't it? That's really interesting on two levels. One, how clothes can become such a trademark for someone. And if you think about famous people, or, you know, people who are memorable through history, there is usually something in their clothing that you remember them from. And it's really nice on the level of, it obviously makes him feel good. And like you said, people remember him.
Yeah.
He's memorable. And in a world where everything is so fast moving, social media is, you know, so much stuff on there. How do you become memorable? How do you make people remember you when they are taking in literally millions of bits of information every second of every day?
True. Yeah.
And to that point, I had a client recently who was unfortunately passed over for a promotion because in informal feedback that she had, she was told that the people who were interviewing her were kind of up the chain a bit in the company that she worked in, didn't really know her that well personally, or worked with her on a one-to-one level, and the role required someone who was going to be more of a face of the company. There are statistics that show that personal brands get 24% more engagement than company brands, so they wanted someone in that role who was going to, you know, go out and be a memorable face of the company, and they didn't think that she was that person. So she came to work with me to align her goals with her wardrobe, essentially, so that she would be seen with credibility going for that role in the future. So, you know, your clothes do, as I said, whether we like it or not, they do make us more memorable. They do make us stick in people's brains, and they can actually really help us. I like to think that I'm a good editor, a really good journalist. I work really hard to get to that role. But if I'm being honest, I did 100% use my clothes as personal brand, and people knew of me because of who I was and what I was wearing. And I think if I hadn't been so colourful and expressive in my clothes, I probably wouldn't have got as many of the opportunities towards the end of my time as a newspaper editor as I did, because I did stand out.
Ah, okay. So once you worked with this lady then, what was the outcome? Did she finally get?
She's got a new job at a different company now, which is, you know, it is higher up, which is really good. But I will often say to clients, we'll have a goal for them. You know, if I work with them on a one day session, they'll have their goal. I'll help them with that. I'll give them some accountability as they go towards it. But if I'm working with someone longer term, I will work with them until we get to the point where that is happening. And so she now is in a better role. I have other clients who've got promotions. One of them had a 20k promotion. They've done stuff like, if they run their own business, get to their first 100k yearly revenue, book deals, speaking events, all that kind of stuff. Because what we're doing isn't really about clothes. Like, yeah, it is what you're wearing, but it's all the stuff you're wearing underneath.
It's like the mindset.
Yeah, that you don't even consider is actually pulling the strings.
Yeah. So you work with a lot of females. Have you worked with males?
I have, yes. Yeah. I have. Slightly easier.
I can imagine.
Because you're like, wear that. Okay, I'll wear that. No, and actually, I will say that men do have a lot of the same issues that women have with their clothes, even more so now because of social media. You know, women were targeted for many years through marketing that was, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, your body's not good enough, all this stuff. But men also are getting targeted in that same way. So there are similar issues that they face when it comes to their wardrobes. But generally, men shop less, but they spend more. So they are happier to spend more money on a quality item, and women will tend to talk themselves out of having that item that would make them feel really good, and instead they'll buy 5 like knockoff versions of the actual item they wanted.
I definitely do that. Yeah, there was a blazer that I saw the other day, and it was over £100, and I was like, oh, I can't really afford that blazer. So I went to another shop and bought 5 different blazers, cheaper options, to see which one looked good, and I'm sending them all back because they don't look as good as the one that was more expensive than I wanted to pay.
Yeah. So it's your time, obviously, because that's taking you time now. And if you'd have just got it and you feel really good in it, what difference would it make to your day? It would make a difference, right? But women generally tend to talk themselves out of stuff because they are conditioned to always think about, you know, what this means for other people, and to feel guilty spending money on themselves. So then ironically they end up spending more money because they're always
spending less.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's less more often, but more overall.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And nothing ever seems to work, does it? Right? We go on these shopping sprees. We spend, I don't know, however much money on things. We don't wear them. We then open our wardrobe. There's loads of stuff in it, and we're like, I don't have anything to wear.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
And I have loads of clothes. What is happening?
Yeah. So what about those that may be going through a transition? Do you work with any clients?
I do, yes. I have clients who are transitioning from male to female, sometimes right at the beginning of the journey and sometimes towards the end of the transition journey. And I've loved being a part of their journeys. I think it is incredible when someone is able to finally be themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it is lovely also when they work in places that support that transition also. So yeah, that's been really interesting and also really nice because there are issues that everyone has with their beliefs about themselves, their bodies and everything. But what is so lovely about that is the joy that they can find in clothes, because it's like they are discovering all this new stuff that was kept away from them for so long. It's like they've been kept in this cage almost, hidden from the world, and now they get to come out and fully express themselves as who they actually always were inside. And that's that's beautiful.
A lovely journey to be a part of.
It is, yeah. It is lovely.
So we ran a poll on LinkedIn this week asking people what they wear in the office. And the results were quite interesting actually. So 73% said they go for casual comfort. 23% said smart casual. And then 4% said suits. However, the poll itself did spark a little controversy. We had one lady commented on the poll and she said that it was disappointing that for women there was still a focus on what they wear and how they look. And yeah, I think one of the words she said was superficial as well. So over to you, Sam.
I agree with her. That is disappointing. And actually, I do understand where that assumption comes from, because when we hear the word stylist, that's what we hear. We think judgment, and I have been a victim of that judgment myself for many years. You know, I've been like crying in a changing room when I was a bit younger. I was a size 18, 20, and I was trying to find an outfit for a wedding I had to go to. I couldn't find anything. I was crying in the changing room and the shop assistants were laughing. Like, that happened to me. So, and you know, it's happened to me that I've had all this stuff of buying stuff to try and fix something about myself, which really could never be fixed through buying things. I get it totally. And I think that's where the assumption comes from, because when we hear stylist, that's what we hear, because so much of the fashion industry is that. So that is the fashion industry, the styling industry, I'm over here doing something, I hope something completely different, which is, it's not about the clothes. It's about you, and it's about what those clothes represent, about your hopes, dreams, fears, all of that stuff. So I do totally understand where that came from. I hope that people listen and understand also that that ain't me. Like, I have dealt with all this stuff. I am the opposite of that stuff, because I do not believe that what you look like should be the most important thing about you. But I do believe that how you feel has a massive difference in what you end up achieving in your life and in your business and in your career, and the things that you will and won't put up with, and ultimately the legacy that you leave for the planet. Because we're buying way too much stuff. We're massively over consuming fashion and fast fashion to fix something that's inside of ourselves. So that is my job. My job isn't put this outfit on, you should wear this, don't wear that, you don't look good in those colours or whatever else. My job is, does this make you feel good? If the answer is yes, wear it.
Yeah. And your motto is you save people time and you make them money. So they're saving time because they know what to wear, they know what they feel good in, and they're making money because they feel more confident. So I think one of your stats was 60% of women have never asked for a pay rise. Well, maybe that's because they're in an outfit that's ranked 3, whereas if they're in 8, they'd feel more confident, so they could ask for that pay rise and then hopefully get it. So they're making more money or getting the promotions or the new jobs.
And one of my clients works in finance, and she said to me that she had spent thousands of pounds over the years on these black suits and skirt suits and stuff that did not make her feel good. And she said, I wish that back then I'd have worn the green suit, the blue suit that I actually really wanted to wear, because I probably would have faced the same issues, but I would have had the confidence to say, no, like, let me just cut you off there. I won't be, mansplained to or talked down to. I'm an expert in what I do. Whereas what we women specifically tend to do is edit themselves all the time. So they'll write an email and then they'll go back and be like, I'm so sorry, could you just do your job? So it's stopping all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And just showing up as a leader, because also that's important for other people to know that you have to have clear communication with people. And that is a way of communicating with them about who you are and what you're here for. We currently buy 5 times more clothes than we did in the 1980s. We wear, as we said, 10% of our clothes. But we have enough clothes on the planet right now to clothe the next 6 generations.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot of clothes.
Yes, it's a lot of clothes. And actually, if you look in your wardrobe, likely you have enough clothes to last you the next 5 years.
Yeah, probably.
So,
or under the bed, or in the drawer.
Under the bed, in the drawer,
in the attic.
In the boot of the car. Like.
Yeah. In the suitcase for the summer, winter, yeah. So we've talked about so much today. It's been absolutely great to have you on, Sam. To end every episode, we do the one word, which is just to give our listeners something extra to think about. So my word is going to be confidence. What's your word?
My word is bold.
Bold. Amazing. Producer Bex, do you have a word?
Colour.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and to learn everything about what you do and all the women that you've helped with all their journeys. And it sounds amazing. And I'm definitely going to be looking in my wardrobe for those 8 out of 10 outfits and wearing a bit more.
Good.
So yeah, thank you all. If you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe to TOGCast so you never miss another episode. And if you need any help with your styling, reach out to Sam. You can find her on LinkedIn. Thanks everyone. Bye.
That's a wrap for this week's episode. If you want to be our next guest speaker on TOGCast, then get in touch with the One Group. And don't forget to subscribe. We would hate for you to miss the next one.